Eating fat makes you fat. Another big fat lies you need to stop believing. Eating fat makes you fat. Everyone knows that, right? I mean, we've heard it so many times. It must be right, right? Wrong. Eating fat does not make you fat in and of itself. Now, it is correct that dietary fats bring with them more calories, 9 per gram, than carbs, 4 per gram, and protein, 4 per gram. So, increasing your consumption of dietary fats will result in a higher caloric intake. And current consensus states that consuming more calories than required for your immediate metabolic needs may cause the volume of your body fat to increase. I will add one caveat to that statement. This happens when and if your metabolic rate is not sped up due to an increase in usable fuel from the fats. See, this is from both the fats you eat and the triglycerides made up of fatty acid chains that are in your body fat. Now, there is a measurable increase in metabolic rate for many who transition from carb burner to fat fueled. Now, contrary to all the hype about fats, replacing sugar and other carbs with healing fats actually results in weight loss. Now, I say wait and hesitate a little bit there because we focus so much on weight loss, but I'm going to encourage you to do something different. Anyhow, so when we encourage people to eat and more healing fats instead of these carbs from sugar and other processed carbs, we really help the body lose that weight when its ingested calories are at a deficiencies. So again, that means if we're taking in less calories, there's a deficiency there. Now, it is also true that the low carb way of eating has been shown to result in more body fat loss and a larger reduction in the pattern B, that's B as in boy, type of LDL than low fat diets even. So if you're not sure what pattern B LDL is, you can read up on that on my blog, drsamgraber.com/blog. So it's when carbs and fats are eaten together that humans are more prone to packing on unwanted pounds. The only proof you really need to support this fact is the insurmountable amount of carbs/oil-laden processed food that we consume as a society. Now, this combo has, in great part, resulted in epidemic levels of obesity today. 1 in 3 adults in the US is considered obese. Look left, look right, look in the mirror. One of you is likely obese. It is estimated that half the children of today will be obese adults if these current trends, easy for me to say, if these current trends continue. So when you significantly limit carb intake, now individual amounts do vary. So when you significantly limit these carbs, the body will use dietary fats and your own fat stores for energy, literally turning your body into a fat burning machine while reducing that belly fat, thigh fat, booty fat, back fat, and hip fat. So when you were young, your metabolism and high activity levels may have allowed you to eat a more generous amount of carbs alongside fats and still maintain a decent body composition, which is your body fat to lean mass proportion, as well as maintain a reasonable weight. But as you get older, like most, your activity levels and your metabolism slow down. The number on the scale may start to creep up. Add to this the onset of insulin resistance, which is an increasing number of those of us over 40 have to some degree. You are helpless against the middle-age spread when this trifecta comes along. You got the insulin resistance, decrease in your metabolism or your metabolic rate, and a decrease in your activity level. So this middle-age spread, it's a thing. Seriously, look into it and look around the next time you're in public. The middle-age spread is not only a thing, it is an epidemic, and it doesn't have to be this way. See, if you're already overweight and your diet is filled with carbs, it makes it very difficult for the body to use stored fat for energy because it always defaults to carbs for that purpose. You see, the body is lazy. It's not going to go the difficult route when the easy stuff is just so easy. So if you are eating every 2 to 3 hours, and the probability of tapping into body fat for fuel is next to impossible since food is always being consumed. Now, by greatly reducing your carbohydrate intake, as well as the frequency at which you consume those carbs, you promote your body's ability to burn fat stores for energy. This results in a healthier loss of weight in the form of body fat and water retention. Now, unlike carbs, dietary fats also promote satiety and fullness, thereby helping you to regulate the appetite so you wind up actually eating less. In fact, you have to eat 2 times more in volume of the carb calories compared to fat calories to reach the same level of fullness, in theory. I say in theory because everybody's different, and this isn't just simple math. So while fat has more calories, the 9 per gram versus the 4 per gram, again, in both protein and carbs, we don't necessarily burn protein for energy. We burn the carbohydrates. It's a whole other video. But it is more important to understand what dietary fat does within the body at the cellular level. Everyone is different. So absolute statements are really not realistic here. But again, by the math, this equates. Contrary to conventional wisdom, a calorie is not a calorie. See, unlike carbs, the dietary fat has little impact on blood glucose, which keeps your glucose and insulin more stable. Now, that in turn eliminates these out of control cravings and that hunger that almost always follows eating carbs and consuming alcohol. That's a different video. But carbs, on the one hand, they are a specific mixture of carbs and processed oils and fats. This is the challenge. So it's this mixture that you get the carbs and processed oils, which is pretty much almost everything in your grocery store within the center aisles. This is the food manufacturer's wet dream and your biggest nightmare. Have you ever eaten a whole bag of chips without realizing what you were doing until you had the bag upside down and you found yourself like tapping it just to get every last little crumb out? It's almost like an out of body experience. See, the carb and fat combo, along with the chemical, you know what, storm that's present in these foods, these processed foods, it lights up certain pathways in the brain, rendering it almost zombie like. All action, no thought. It is such a strange phenomenon. So, when there is a high level of insulin in the blood, which is called hyperinsulinemia, it triggers the body to store energy in body fat. Now, the lion's share of insulin that your pancreas releases is in response to glucose. Glucose comes from carbs. Simple, complex, doesn't matter. So, in reality, it is eating carbs that make the human store fat, not eating fats. When debating the topic of fat inside the body, there are two different discussions to be had. There is the fat on our body, and then there is the fats in cellular membranes. They are not one and the same, but they are sourced from our food. See, the fat haters, now they threw down that gauntlet without doing their biochemistry homework, apparently. So, to take you back in time a little bit or a lot, you may recall looking at cells under the microscope. See that outer part that you could see as a border? What gives the cell its structure and its shape is called the membrane. Now, this membrane is the protective barrier for the cell, and therefore the protective barrier for you. Every cell in the body has fats in its cellular membrane. We refer to those fats in that capacity as lipids, and a lipid bilayer when we're talking membranes in human cells. Now, this cellular membrane keeps the good stuff in that cell and the bad stuff out of it, simplistically speaking. There is a whole lot of science going on when it comes to this balance, but to break it down, the more pliable or flexible that our membrane is, the better the cell can regulate its internal environment. The better your cells can regulate their internal environments, the better you maintain your health. Now, this pliability, again, that flexibility of the cell membrane is directly affected by the quality of fats we eat. This is why I place such a strong emphasis on what kinds of fats to consume. The best fat, here's the take home. The best fats for a healthier membrane are monounsaturated and saturated, as well as certain polyunsaturated fats of the omega-3 variety. You'll see that as a PUFA, P-U-F-A, and an N3 out in front of that. So my preferred specifications for the plant-based oils are the organic and unrefined cold-pressed varieties. These are 100% olive oil. Believe it or not, some of the olive oil that we get on our shelves is cut with canola. Yeah, my favorite. And it's not labeled. Anyway, whole different topic. So we want to look at these cold pressed, also the avocado oil and virgin coconut oil. My preferred types of animal fats are from animals raised on regenerative farms. They're fed what they're designed to eat and pasture raised, so they live as they are designed to live in nature. Preferred animal sources of fats are butter and ghee and tallow from these cows on regenerative farms and lard from the pigs. Now, these fats promote a more supple lipid bilayer. Again, that cellular membrane, and supple is where it is at. So it is ill-advised to ingest the following oils containing omega-6 polyunsaturated polyunsaturated fatty acids, or the PUFA. All right, so these are soybean, corn, canola, and cottonseed oils. I mean, what in the world? So they are heavily genetically modified, which is GMO. They are absolutely marinating in glyphosate, Roundup, and they are pro-inflammatory, which means they promote inflammation in the human body. And if that was not enough to make you totally gag, most of them go through the RBD process to make them more shelf stable. Yeah. So what does RBD consist of? R is refined, B is bleached, and D is deodorized. Need I say more? I mean, really. So now margarine is always on my naughty fats list. It is fake and has trans bonds, which makes that lipid bilayer rigid instead of pliable. No bueno. For the record, canola oil is the invention of the Canadian food manufacturers. Canola is for is Canada, and then ola for oil. It is extracted with hexane solvents, which is a byproduct of refining gasoline. And it is in just about everything passed off as food. A better term for this food is frankenfood. Never eat that stuff. So the eating fat makes you fat lie has done more damage to our health than we will ever be able to measure. The decades of fat phobia have left us fatter and sicker than ever before in our history as a nation. We are continuously sold out by our policymakers, 100%. US food policies are crafted by lobbyists and bureaucrats, both of whom are funded by big food and big pharma. And we, the taxpayers, get this, we are subsidizing our nutritional demise. Here's the take home. Big food causes the problem, then big pharma comes in with the cure, all under the watchful eye of our bureaucrats. And folks, I don't see these policies changing anytime soon. So it's up to you to change your own policy in your own body with your own fork. So recap of the lie, eating fat makes you fat. Eating fat does not make you fat, but eating carbs certainly can, especially when it comes to the quick and dirty carbs. You know, the ones that lure you in with their sexy chemical names and the feelings of euphoria that they trick your brain into feeling. Remember, these types of carbs spike your insulin. Insulin impedes the body's access to body fat, so you cannot burn it for energy. In addition to the carb seduction, the chemicals that are added to processed food wreak havoc on your brain and gut, certainly creating a perfect storm for cravings and an almost catatonic type of consumption. Like that bad boy in high school, you just can't resist. So when you cannot readily tap into the stored energy in body fat, you have to rely on a constant supply of carbs to get your energy fix. Bottom line, it does not have to be this way when you are fat fueled.